Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be taking on the 101 Days of Summer tag, and I was tagged by the lovely The Reading Wordsmith. I will leave her handle below. And we're going to be answering a bunch of summer themed questions. So if you're into that, make sure to stick around. And if you'd like to tell me the answers to some of these questions, I would also love to know them as well. Let's get into it. So, the first prompt is pick a favorite author. They are inviting you to a barbecue to announce their newest work. What do you hope they're announcing and what are you bringing to share? I would probably pick Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie for this. I hope that she's sharing a sequel to Half of the Yellow Sun because I want to know what happened to everybody and I'm curious and I'm nosy. I do respect the fact that this is probably very unlikely to happen because I think she's probably closed that chapter of her writing career. But I would hope that it's a book tying the loose ends of all the characters in that book. I particularly want to know what the hell happened to Kainene. And so, in an ideal world, this is what she would be announcing, even though I know how extremely unlikely that is. In terms of what I am bringing, I'm not very aligned with cooking, I have to say. And it's already bad enough when I have to cook for myself. So I associate summer with having fun. So in that regard, I will definitely not be cooking. I would probably get some picky bits. So I'm thinking like lots of side dishes. I get maybe like some olives. I'd probably get some corn on the cob. I get maybe some chicken, maybe some sliders. I would 100% buy all of those things. I have no interest in cooking for anybody. And I also have no interest in potentially poisoning people. I don't think I am a terrible cook, but I'm under no illusions that I'm great. So we'll keep my food away from people for the most part. Because for one, I don't want to do it. And for two, I am nothing if not considerate of people and their stomachs. The second prompt is road trip. Pick a real world setting from a recent or not so recent read. Where will that trip take you? That is a very good question. So, I recently read Love in Tuscany, and it's a collection of short stories by a couple of authors. So, every character in this book is a guest at this wedding, and they all find each other and get into relationships. And I just loved the way that Tuscany was described in the book. I loved the setting of like a wedding. I loved the setting of like a destination and a place that I've never been. Even though I didn't love the book, I did find the descriptions very vivid and it did make me want to go to Tuscany. So I think definitely where Love in Tuscany was located, the villa, I would love to eat everything that they mentioned. I think it would be an amazing opportunity to go. So I definitely think the setting for Love in Tuscany. You can't go wrong with that. It's very summery, it's very sexy, it's very relaxed. It sounds like my idea of a good time, good food, good vibes, good people, exploring, like what could be better? And I've heard nothing but good things about Tuscany, so absolutely. Next prompt is camping. Do you rough it? Stay in a tent or a sleeping bag? Do you require amenities? Will you read more than usual? Okay, so I know that I'm technically new to YouTube, so a lot of people probably don't know me, but there's not a chance that I would ever rough it. In fact, I'm trying to think of the probability of me camping and I just can't see it. When I think of camping, I think being in a tent in the middle of the woods. And this might be a very stereotypical idea, but I think that Black people have no business in the woods camping. But also, not only am I Black, but I'm also Nigerian as well. Do you understand what you're asking me to do? Do you understand the challenge that you're asking me to undertake? Camping and roughing it? There is no way on earth. I am so sorry. Okay. I would love to be more adventurous. I would love to be more trusting, but I don't know. Camping just doesn't call to me. I'm not aligned. In the great words of April McDaniel from the Everybody's Crazy podcast. Okay. I really don't think I have any business roughing it camping. And if I ever went missing and somebody told you, oh, we just stepped out and it was her idea, it was not my idea. Okay. I was probably coerced or kidnapped. There is no way I said, guys, let's go camping. But more importantly, let's rough it. Absolutely not. That idea could not have been conceptualized or carried out by somebody like me. If I'm going to camp, which is extremely unlikely, I'm going to need glamping. I'm talking, if we're going to be in the woods, I'm going to need a house with lockable doors. I'm going to need running water. I'm going to need a functional toilet. I'm going to need I don't even mind sleeping in a sleeping bag in the house, but then we have to be in a house, a secure house that we can lock the door at night and in the day. Like I'm not one with nature. Okay, I don't that I want to be one with nature. Nature and I are we are acquaintances. We are not best friends. I see nature. I understand what nature does for the world. I don't want to be one with nature. You know what? Not in that way. Until things improve in the world, maybe. But for now, I am not aligned with the idea of camping. Glamping, probably. Camping and roughing it. Find somebody else to do that. Not me. Will I read more than usual? No, I will not read at all because I would be losing my shit every minute of every day. In fact, it would be a miracle if I could quiet my brain down enough to actually read anything. I'd be worried about the location, whether or not I was going to be axe murdered, whether or not I was going to be kidnapped, whether I'd run into a strange man. I just, I really admire people that can just go into the woods and camp and have a great time. But I think I'd be too anxiety ridden to have any sort of concentration span to read a book. So yeah, camping is not for me, babes. Not for me. Next prompt is festivals. You're attending a booktube festival where dressing as one of your favorite literary characters is the only requirement. Who do you go dressed as and why? And I have to say, I don't know how practical it would be for a festival because I've never been to a festival. Again, a festival is kind of a nightmare to me the more I think about it. It's nice when you don't think about the actual complexities involved in going to a festival, but my brain just can't allow me to have a good time. So I'm always thinking about like bathrooms and where do you go for this and the fact that you're in a crowd. There's an idealistic part of my brain that would like to go to a festival, but the practical part is telling me that I would absolutely hate it. That being said, a booktube festival and I'm dressing like somebody, I don't know how practical dressing like this person would be, but I do know that she's possibly the only character that I have dreamt of owning a wardrobe similar to her, and that would be Nora from Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Because the way that Emily Henry describes how she goes about like buying clothes and choosing clothes and her philosophy with like good lingerie, I'm like, definitely Nora. I would love a peek into Nora's wardrobe just to see what I can nick because she's a very like high powered career woman and she loves fashion. So I'm thinking I'd probably be kind of uncomfortable, but I'd look good. So I'm like, I feel like it will be okay. You know, I look good at the end of the day. I'm not going to look bad because it's Nora's wardrobe. You know what I mean? I may not be comfortable, but it's just one day, guys. I think, right? It's just one day. It's just one day. Okay, I can do it. I can wear her red heels and have a good time. And yeah, definitely Nora. Nora is the first person that came to mind, and I'm gonna stick with her for sure. I was thinking about choosing somebody from like a historical romance, but I feel like that might be quite cliche. And I don't know if I want to be wearing like a Victorian costume at a festival. So I think, now that I think about it, Nora's actually might be quite sensible. Nora, stick with Nora. My brain just can't let me do anything simply ever. Nora, let's go with Nora. Number 5 is slice of life. What is something others may consider simple or mundane, but is something that you can't see a summer without? I think for me, it's seeing my family and going on walks and just generally being together. I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but I don't live in the same country as all of my siblings and my parents. So we usually see each other in the summertime. And those times that we spend together have become increasingly precious to me. So just like being with them, going on a walk, having a family meal, they're things that you do every day. And they're things that I probably took for granted when I was, living in the same country as them. And so, yeah, totally mundane, but extremely necessary for me and my well being. I treasure every moment that I have with my family when we're all together because we're also spread apart and busy. So, yeah, like if anybody asks me what my dream scenario would be right now, it's being with them and us at our best, which is like quality time, good food, going on a walk, all those things. Yeah. Next, we have Scary Story. Which author would you invite to go camping with you, knowing you would want to hear the scariest story that they can tell around the campfire? Now, you guys have brought up camping again because you guys are normal people that enjoy camping. I do not view camping in the same lens that a lot of people do. That said, if I had to choose an author, I'm going to go completely off and choose Emily Henry. And I'm going to use Happy Place as the setting for the horror story. Now, I do understand that Happy Place was a romance. I understand that a lot of people liked it, but I hated Happy Place. And I was not shy about that on my Goodreads review about it. Happy Place was the stuff of nightmares. When I think about what my brain automatically connects to a nightmare, it is very much Harriet's reality, where she has a job that she hates. She has a partner that's largely disinterested in her and doesn't put any effort whatsoever and leaves her at her lowest. She has a group of friends that she's clearly the only one putting in any effort into keeping intact. She's about to enter financial ruin by abandoning her very high paying job in order to make a hobby her job despite not being very good at it. So yeah, I view Happy Place through a horror lens, which I don't know that many people do, but I do. I just remember that Harriet's family is not the best, are they? Like they're terrible people as well. Yeah, Harriet's life is the stuff of nightmares. Nobody can ever convince me that that is a happy story or that should be anything that anybody should be aspiring to. And so if Emily Henry wants to tell me a story based on that or based very similarly to that while we are glamping, that's fine. But to me, like in this day and age, when I think about scary stuff, for sure, honestly, stuff of nightmares. I don't know how anybody's like, oh, Happy Place. There was nothing happy about Happy Place. I don't even know. How could. Sometimes I really sit down and I think, like, did people read the same book that I did? Because there is no way you thought Happy Place was a happy book. That's insane. Happy Place was. Anyways, maybe not everyone thinks like that. To be honest, maybe I'm the problem. You know, when you're talking, you realize maybe I am actually the problem. There might be something wrong with me. Yeah, that's how I feel. The next is First Love, Summer Crush. A romantic interest during the summer months often leads to a bittersweet ending or a lasting impact. Which do you prefer to read? How does the age of characters affect this opinion? I think I like both. Like the relationship is built to last a long time, and also the relationships that are just in passing, because I feel like they're very representative of real life. It's not every relationship that you get into that you will be in forever. You know, some relationships are only built to last a season, and I think that also includes romantic relationships and partnerships. So I would say yes, the age definitely affects my position. I think if it's like a YA book or a book involving teenagers or younger adults, I would definitely prefer like a bittersweet ending. So they had a great relationship, but they're entering into it with the knowledge that it will end. I think in a way those stories can be heart wrenching, but I feel like they pack a punch, and they are quite meaningful and they have a place, I suppose, in the literary world. I feel like they can be heart shattering and earth shattering, and the ending of it is usually a contributing factor to why they feel that way. But with regard to the lasting impact, I'm guessing that means like a lasting relationship. If they're a bit older, so I would say maybe like late 20s, early 30s, or beyond, like 40s, 50s, then I like the idea of the fact that they've met under these, you know, unplanned circumstances, but they end up having a relationship that lasts, you know, until death and all that stuff. So I think it depends on the age. Younger, I like a bittersweet, and older, I like a lasting kind of relationship. Yeah. Next up is nostalgia. What book or books imbibe you with an overwhelming sense of nostalgia? They don't necessarily have to take place during summer, but provide a strong attachment to summer somehow. I think for me, it's usually YA books, any YA romance books, or any books that feature a road trip. Reason being that I've never really read a story in which a road trip takes place in any season except summer. There's always references to the heat and references to summer type clothing. So a pair of shorts or like a tank top. For me, that I associate road trip books with summer. So I think any romance book about a road trip or about a holiday or something invokes summer for me. I also think YA books tend to do the same. Like I can't remember a YA book that I've read that has featured like, you know, winter or spring. Any book that's not too serious or heavy will usually invoke a summer feeling, regardless of whether or not it does feature like summer, a summer theme. You know what I mean? If I was going to mention specific books, I think Peter Cabot by Cat Sebastian is one. Let me see what else. I think Love in Tuscany, even like Out of the Storm by Logan Sage Adams, like those kind of books, very road tripping, or when they're traveling, or when it's young love. It's always like that feeling that I get with the anticipation of summer. So yeah, those books, but I'm sure there's many more that I just can't remember at this particular moment. And final prompt is summer stories. What is a book or books you would recommend where summertime is the primary focus? I would recommend Beach Read by Emily Henry. I would recommend Love in Tuscany by I know that JJ Mulder is one of the authors. It's because of I read so much JJ Mulder that I read Love in Tuscany. We Could Be So Good because there's like Cat Sebastian. Summer wasn't really a theme, but again they talked about like heat and things, and it wasn't particularly cold in any of those stories. I would also say it's a much heavier book, but Purple Hibiscus by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Summer wasn't the overall theme, but it was based in Nigeria, and usually for most of the year it does feel like summer. But there's references because the main character of that book and her brother go over to their aunt's house to stay, and this is during like it wasn't term time; it was their time off school. So I would say around like the summertime. So it wasn't the theme, but there's a very sort of like school is out, no school, kind of. Oh my god, did it come out? God. There was a very sort of like school is out, no school in session kind of vibe to it, especially because their dad was very like strict about school. So I think that it's not a summer theme, but it's something that's trained in my head to recognize as that, if that makes any sense. And also, I think Beach Read by Emily Henry as well is pretty good. So yeah, I think those are the books that I would recommend for that specific prompt. I would like to thank everybody if you've watched so far. I really, really appreciate you sticking around and watching this video. I really appreciate your support. I would love if you left me a comment, liked, and subscribed. If you like what you saw and if you'd like to see more, I would love to also extend my appreciation to the Reading Wordsmith for tagging me in this challenge. It's my first time being tagged. It actually feels surreal because when I was just a viewer on Booktube, these are the things that I would look forward to seeing on other people's channels. So to have been tagged feels very special. So I would just like to really thank her for tagging me. I really appreciate it. And I will see you when I see you next. Bye.